spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to go and talk about comic books and one of my most favorite subjects. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media. Links in the description below. I also will post a link of these 3 issues that we're going to be covering. So we're going to be looking at Amazing Spider-Man 31, 32, and 33, all the way from 1965. Now, I do not own the 3 issues in its original forms. I do have them in the Marvel Masterworks edition. And I also have them in the Marvel Tales. So these issues have been reprinted. These are considered to be some of the greatest of the Spider-Man Steve Ditko run. So we'll get started. We get a cover here by Steve Ditko. And then back then, the splash page was sort of another cover. So this isn't the action per se inside. It's sort of like another cover. And then, of course, it's got the credits here. Steve Ditko is both the penciler and the inker. So let's begin. So like all Stan Lee scripted, I'm not say scripted because I'm sure Steve Ditko co-plotted this and with Stan Lee. There's a lot of verbosity in here. So these masked individuals are making a getaway. They stole a nuclear, it's amazing how people, some kind of nuclear device. And a cop sees them, but they use some kind of sleep gas because it is the 60s and people don't die in the 60s, so they didn't kill them. Spider-Man catches them, or Spider-Man sees them, so he's going to follow them and get in there to try and prevent them or stop them. So they're going to gas him, but in the thought balloon, he says, well, good thing that they shouted that before, so he had a chance to, take a big gulp of air. And because he can hold his breath longer, he's able to fight them. So the master planner, I love how they said use emergency plan G. And so they set the device and dump it into the water. Of course, Spider-Man didn't notice that because he was too busy fighting them. So in an underwater base here, they are going to then retrieve the device. So Spider-Man continues to fight them. He's the fumes are starting to make him feel a little groggy. So Spider-Man knows he has to get out before the gas overwhelms him. So he takes a piece of the door that he had knocked out and uses it to stop the propeller. And they punch him out. Either way, he sees it's going to land on him, so he uses some webbing to deflect him. And the helicopter lands in the water. And they were waiting underneath and saved them. And then Spider-Man notices nobody's come up, so he thinks they're drowning, but he goes into it and sees that there's no one there. And he wonders how the heck they got away. In that underwater base, whoever that master planner is couldn't believe that he had to contend with Spider-Man so quickly, and he almost ruined his carefully planned heist. And that it's important that no one knows who he is at this time, I guess, before his plans are completed. And the next day, Peter's going to go register for college, and Aunt May watches him leave and says how happy he looks. Doesn't want to tell him she's been feeling very ill, and you can see some drops of sweat. So so he takes like a registration. He registers and gets to see about Empire State University, which is a made up school. Um, and signs in Flash Thompson. Um, so just kind of typical college stuff. This is what made Spider-Man so successful. Later, he returns home. She tells him she's gonna turn in and she'll make him breakfast in the morning. He says that he can fix it and just to get some rest. And suddenly she faints. He calls the doctor, who they make house calls during this time, and he says that she's very weak and they don't want to take chances, so he's gonna call for an ambulance and they're gonna admit her into the hospital. And at the hospital, she seems to be doing better, and Aunt May apologizes because it's his first day of school and feels bad that he's there with her instead of preparing for school. He says he'll be okay and to just get her rest and get better. And as Peter's walking home, he feels bad that he never noticed how sick she was. So Peter's in campus still feeling bad. By the way, this is Gwen Stacy. This is actually her first appearance, and she was dating Harry Osborn, and of course this is Flash Thompson there. They're talking about college football and how Flash Thompson thinks they won't even need the other people in there because he's so good. And of course, Peter walks in. Gwen is impressed because she heard how smart Peter is. Harry Tower tries to downplay it that he's like any other freshman. Flash calls him, but Peter doesn't really hear him. Flash thinks that he ignored them, and of course he didn't. He didn't even hear him because he's still thinking about Aunt May. Of course, here Gwen looks at Peter and she says, not as husky as Flash, but he's brighter and attractive. Peter's still thinking about Aunt May though, so that's all that's on his mind. Another person that saw him at registration is trying to get a hold of him, but of course Peter is not paying attention to anyone. Um, he's just concentrating on Aunt May, and here he's calling to get updates on her. And just throughout the rest of the day, that's all he thinks is about Aunt May. Part of what makes Spider-Man so popular, particularly back then, is how everyday and how relatable he was. So Harry, at this time, he's a bit of an antagonist. Also, he's thinking that Peter's getting too big for his own britches, and Peter is still thinking about Aunt May. Harry has an idea to bring him down a peg. Gwen thinks that they should mind their own business, and this other guy is on Harry's side. So Harry says it won't be anything serious. They're whispering back and forth. These are like whispering things. And Gwen tells him no wonder him and Flash are such good friends. Gwen is attracted to him, but decides to go along with them. She calls him out, but of course he doesn't hear it because he's still concentrating on Aunt May. She asks for a pen and he gives it to her without even looking at her, and she gives him an icy, oh, thank you very much. And of course here they switch something, and it causes an explosion which upsets the teacher. The teacher of course tells him he can't do that, and Peter's like, it doesn't know how it even happened. Of course, everybody else is just kind of happy, although Gwen did not want that to happen. So after class, they were going to make it up to him, invite him somewhere, but he leaves right away. so he could get back to the hospital. He's a good nephew. Remember, Aunt May pretty much raised him. So they were visiting hours and they're over, so he has to leave now. Of course, Aunt May is worried about him too. The doctor says that they don't know what's wrong with her and she'll have to remain there for some more tests. So, he wants Peter to kind of keep it away from her. So he gets to her house and sees all these bills. He thinks about leaving college and getting a full-time job, even though it would break Aunt May's heart because she really wants him to go to college. So he has an idea, but it will require him to spend up the nights instead of studying. So he's as Spider-Man. He's looking for crime and for things that he can photograph, so he can sell it to the Bugle. And of course, just as luck, the city is quiet. And he spends up all night waiting for a crime, but that just does not occur. He decides to just head home, and he's very tired. He's going to try to study, but of course, he can't concentrate. He's so tired, but he has to go to class. Everyone's upset at him again because they think that he is acting like he's better than everybody else, and you can see everybody just sort of pointing at him. So Jonah Jameson is also upset because there seems to be no crime either, and without news he can't sell the papers, he says. Jameson tells his best reporter Foster to find something on the robberies of all those scientific equipments. Jonah wonders about Peter because he hasn't brought any pictures, and Betty tells him that he hasn't seen him either. So she's calling Peter, but no one, or the house, but no one answers. And there's Ned Leeds, of course, who is in the future is the one that is accused of being the Hobgoblin. But that is a story for another day. So he had asked her to date him, but she wants to talk to Peter because she is going out with Peter at this time. So she says that after she talks to Peter, then she can make up her mind. So Foster is dressed as this Patch, who's like, I don't know, someone who can just kind of blend in with the criminals. He overhears something about the nuclear device here, so he's gonna kind of follow and see what's going on. But as he follows him, he loses him. So back in class, Gwen thinks it's strange because Peter's the first person she's met that doesn't go all and fawn all over her. He's of course done and he's leaving the lab. Again, he's thinking about Aunt May. She tries to talk to him, but he's like, he's in a hurry, so they can't talk at this moment. She, of course, is upset that he's giving her a brush off. But he's back in the hospital with Aunt May. Aunt May is still concerned over him, but he meets with the doctor, who tells him the tests aren't all completed yet, but they're trying to narrow down what's going on with her. And Peter's concerned, but he's going to be leaving, and he's Spider-Man now, swinging through the city, and sees below that something's going on. And so, of course, it's the reporter who tells Spider-Man that he needs him and tells him what he saw. He tells him that there's a robbery taking place and that he should do something about it. So he'll decide that he's going to take a look real quick before we go on. Love this panel. I love the shadow on his face here. Very nice. And so those robbers are going in, and Spider-Man arrives. And of course, he's prepared this time for them. And so we kind of have him, you know, them trying to stop him, and he evading them, but they do drop a net on him and have him trapped. He rips the net out and swings by here, or knocking them out. He sees the police there, and the man that gave him the tip is with the police there. So he wonders about this person here, and then Spider-Man is concerned because he does not have the pictures for Jonah Jameson, and so he's like, "This just isn't my week." And the only good thing is that he was able to stop them from stealing that device. And so the master planner is plotting his revenge, as well as research into the atomic ray in an underwater base. So then we get to the doctors finishing up tests, and these are doctors from the test with Aunt May, and don't think that she has too much longer to live. So that ends this issue. So now we are going to go to number 32. Man on a Rampage here. Great cover here. You know, in this era, I don't know. I prefer Steve Ditko to Jack Kirby. His art is more fluid, I think. So he does get some plot credits here, and he is the both the penciler and the inker. So here we have Dr. Octopus, and he is actually that master planner. He's the one that had done all these things. So Dr. Octopus is the one responsible for everything. So he's needing that radio act, or that nuclear stuff for something. So um I love this. Attention deputy squad leader. That's just funny. So Peter is now at the Daily Bugle. Betty's trying to talk to him, but again, he's in a trance, just thinking about Aunt May. Everything is about Aunt May. So no, my bad. So she doesn't like Spider-Man, so he's concerned that they're dating, that what will happen if she found out that that he is Spider-Man. Ned arrives to say, hey, that he's in love with her, and Peter decides this is the perfect time to make it so that she breaks up with him. So um, Peter kind of pushes him away. So like I said, he's trying to get her to break up with him. So he told Jonah that he brought in some new pictures for him. Jonah looks at the pictures, but decides that they're not worth anything. So Betty tells him that she knows that this was all a ploy, but Peter has to go on with it because he thinks it's for the best if she breaks up with him. So he goes to see her, but she's too weak to take visitors. So they said that the doctor wants to see him, and they said they found out what's wrong with her, but they don't know how it caused. She says there's some kind of radioactive particle in her blood, and they don't know how to take it out. And he Peter knows, he feels responsible because he gave her a blood transfusion, and the radioactivity that caused him to turn into Spider-Man is what's causing her to be sick. And so now Peter is just torn. He feels so distraught about everything. Again, this is what makes Spider-Man so relatable to everybody. It's just people can identify with this kind of stuff, and it's just stuff DC Comics wasn't doing at this time. So Peter is like, I need to find a way to save her, and he thinks about Dr. Kurt Connors, who is the lizard. He calls him. He thought he was in Florida, but turns out that he's back in New York, and so he goes and looks for him as Spider-Man. So he grabs the tube of blood that from Aunt May and takes it with him so that he can give it to uh, Dr. Connors. So he gives him the blood, and because he asks him to help him, and so Dr. Connors is gonna take a look. He says there's a new serum that could possibly help him. So Spider-Man tells him to order it, and he'll return with the expense money. So he says he will get that in immediately. So Peter's gonna sell everything that he can so he can get the money. So he sells everything he gets. So he gets in with he brings in the money to Dr. Connors. He says he ordered it, and it's an airplane on the way to them. And so, of course, Peter's good at chemistry, so he's helping Dr. Connors. He thinks that once that serum arrives, if they can add it to this potion, it should help. So now we're back with Dr. Octopus. And of course, Dr. Octopus needs that very same serum. So it's being brought, and the guy who's bringing it is robbed. So, and Spider-Man hears about it. So, when Spider-Man hears about it, he's gonna go out and look for it. I love it when you look at Todd McFarlane, and then you look at, it's just so much different. But Spider-Man arrives looking for that reporter, and she says that he left him. And look at her disdain for Spider-Man. It's part of the reason why Peter wanted to break up with her. So he sees Foswell and grabs him. He tells him he needs the master planner, and needs his help, and tells him he'll give him a scoop if he finds it. He crashes into this place where all the bad guys hang out, looking for the master planner. So of course, his Aunt May is in danger, so he really needs that serum. In the meantime, Aunt May has gone into a coma and says there's nothing they can do at this time. So Peter's still fighting, looking for the master planner, who he does not know is Dr. Octopus. Spider-Man's upset because he knows they don't know who he is. Meanwhile, Dr. Connors is still waiting for that serum. And he looks at another lead, but just can't. It's all empty. But his spider sense is leading him, and there's a trap door. So he comes in, and he finds all the people who are still wearing their masks. So love comic books, and so he begins to fight them. Very cool fight. Of course, they let him know that Spider-Man's on his way, and he's very happy because now he finally has a chance to get rid of Spider-Man. And so Spider-Man's trying to make his way through. And suddenly he's shocked. Some kind of energy. And Dr. Octopus grabs him. And Spider-Man realizes Dr. Octopus is the master planner. And so they begin to fight. Really do enjoy Steve Ditko's art. And so again, the just kind of keep fighting, and then all this kind of falls on top of him. And he's pinned and can't get out. And those of you who know about Spider-Man, you know kind of where this is going. So he knows that thing is going to fall him and crush him, so he's trying to slow it down with his webbing. And he was not crushed, but now he's pinned. He sees the canister of serum, but he can't get to it. And then suddenly there's water from the ceiling, and it's leak because the river is above them. And he just can't move. He's exhausted. And here you can just see everybody is just kind of... It's a great composition. I mean, this is from this. I understand this is from the '60s, but very good stuff. So Dr. Connor says, of course, because we got to add more to this. That if it doesn't get soon, this will lose its potency. And so here we see Spider-Man is trapped. So we go to our last issue that we're covering today, number 33. And of course, this is considered one of the best Spider-Man issues of all time. So, but it's kind of the whole part. I would have just done this issue, but you got to do the whole thing, because otherwise this issue just wouldn't have been nearly as impactful. So we have a quick kind of like what's been going on recap. So again, we got our credits. It's very, like I said, it's very cool to see Steve Ditko do his own inking. So he's trapped underneath this, and is just thinking about Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Just, you know, very cool stuff. Just a lot of talking kind of here, but this talking is so important. Look at this. The water's coming. He's trapped. Can't get out. It, just so amazing. I mean, you just, and then suddenly, little by little, he's just doing everything he can, and then boom, he frees himself. Great page there. So he grabs the serum. He's very weak, and so, you know, as you start to think, how can we make this even worse? So of course the whole thing is going to collapse. I almost would have thought it would have been even more badass if he would have had this collapse while he was still underneath it, but I guess we gotta do one thing at a time. So he's being swept up by the currents, but he manages to get out, but he's soon pulled back in by Dr. Octopus's minions. And so the only way that he can get out is through them. So he gets the canister and off he goes. I mean, the entire time you're like, oh my gosh, is this canister gonna break? What's going on? as he's fighting everybody. He's just so overwhelmed. Everybody is just on top of him. Just he's barely making through. He thinks of Aunt May, um, doing what he can. He just refuses to give up, and knocks them all out. And off he goes. And you can see these little things just to show he's dazed and disoriented. And so he makes it to Dr. Connors and gives him the serum, and he's gonna prepare it. Spider-Man takes a sample of his own blood because they'll need it for comparison to see if the serum will work. So Dr. Connors says it's doing very well. So at this time he uses to test it on a blood sample to see. So it does work. He compare it with the the blood thing, so it worked. So he's gonna now take it to the hospital so they can give it to Aunt May. And so Spider-Man has arrived with the serum. They said if this works, they can do a transfusion, but the results will take about 2 hours. And of course, Spider-Man doesn't know, about those 2 hours because he's just on pins and needles. So he needs to find a way to keep busy for those 2 hours. So he's gonna go in there and take pictures of the master planner. And so Spider-Man calls Foswell so that he meets him. He says he's got a scoop, so which of course makes J. Jonah very happy. And Foswell arrives, and Spider-Man's waiting for him, and says it was Dr. Octopus the whole time. So, and of course there's Peter's camera taking pictures, and the police arrive, and he's taking more pictures. So they're unmasking everybody, and they're gonna see if they can find Dr. Octopus. But Jameson is very happy, like I said, with the news. So he's complaining about his leg, and here comes Betty. And so Betty sees Peter all beaten up. He says it was just him trying to get the pictures, but so when she sees Peter like that, she remembers her brother and how he died, and she doesn't think, she thinks of Peter dying, and she just like, she can't be with him. So either way, even though his original plan didn't work, this seemed to have done the trick, and they break up. So he's bringing the pictures to Jonah, and he's extremely happy. Jonah wants them, and Peter wants a good price. He's like, we'll settle on a price later. And he's like, nope, we're gonna settle now, because he needs the money. He wants $100 each, and he says he'll take it, although they were worth twice that much. So he gives Peter a check. So they're saying they're still checking on her, but they want to look him over because he looks very beaten up. The doctor is very concerned with him because he's exhausted. Gives him some medicine, but he gets the good news that she's going to pull through. And of course, this makes him happy. And you can just see how much Aunt May really means to him. So there we go. So this was a bit of a longer video, but I wanted to do the entire thing. So I did 3 issues. So Hope you liked it. Hope you liked this adventure. Um, like and subscribe, and thanks for listening. Bye bye.